Colonizing Mars. Fools walk where angels fear to tread. My name is Wally Nelson and I'm a rocket scientist. I'm 84 years old and have had nothing but fun during my working career, which I owe to the GI Bill for providing me that opportunity, and that makes me very proud to be an American, but I oppose the idea of putting man in space, and I want to tell you why. NASA has said that Mars has long beckoned to humankind and studies have been conducted on exploring our sister planet, and that each study brings us closer to sending humans to the red planet. There are many human and technological problems that come with placing man outside the gravitational attraction of the Earth, many of which can be solved, but some cannot. So now just briefly I want to address two of these particularly difficult problems: keeping the astronauts alive during an expedition to Mars, and the burdensome cost to the world for such an endeavor. Teams of 6 astronauts will be sent to the red planet, and presumably there will be gender parity: 3 lady astronauts and 3 gentlemen astronauts. Now, about keeping the astronauts alive, here are 7 quotations from the TV Science Channel program Mars Rising. 1. Preparing and protecting them for deep space may be the greater challenge than all the technological factors in planning a mission to Mars. 2. The greatest test of the human mind will be the projected almost 3-year manned mission to Mars and back. Mental breakdown, sexual tension, near suicide, and mutiny have already taken place on shorter Earth orbit and space travel missions. 3. If there's an accident on the long hazardous journey to Mars, the nearest emergency room is millions of miles away back on Earth. Even something as simple as a broken bone can be fatal. 4. The astronauts chosen for the Mars mission will be subjected to DNA examination. In the future, an astronaut's genes may be altered to ensure they are the best possible candidate. 5. The intensity of cosmic rays experienced by astronauts on the Mars mission will be greater than that experienced by earlier astronauts and could damage their learning and memory, vital on the journey to Mars. 6. The most perilous part of the journey to the red planet is the 6 minutes it will take to travel from the top of the Mars atmosphere to its surface. The 6 minutes of terror. 7. Sex in space is a possibility with a mixed crew in close quarters. NASA says that's okay and natural, but the outbound journey to Mars takes 9 months, so the first ever citizens of Mars will be born in the supply habitats that precedes the arrival of the first crew. A 40-ton supply habitat will be sent to Mars ahead of the crew that will give the astronauts a place to live and keep them alive for 18 months. The astronauts must land close to this base. If they fail to do so, the babies and the crew will die. Once started on the trip to Mars, there is no turning back, and after arriving on Mars, the astronauts must wait 18 months before beginning the trip back to Earth. That is because they must wait for the Earth and Mars to be properly aligned in their orbits. It's called conjunction. It means that the minimum round trip to Mars will take 3 years, 9 months out, wait 18 months on Mars for the next conjunction, and then 9 months to get home. If the first launch opportunity for return to Earth is missed, the crew is doomed. Now about cost. There are no resources on Mars that will support a crew, so the crew must carry everything it needs, all of it: food, clothing, water, and air, enough to support 6 astronauts for 3 years, power supplies, air processing equipment, waste processing equipment, space suits, rocket launcher, rockets to come back, and parachutes for descent to Earth. So what will it cost to place all this stuff on the surface of Mars? It is estimated by looking at the cost of the Viking program that landed 2 payloads on Mars in 1976. The Viking program delivered 2 payloads weighing a total of 2,540 pounds to the surface of Mars at a cost of $1 billion. That equates to $3.5 billion in 2006, and when $3.5 billion is projected to 2036 dollars, it means that the program cost would zoom to $12.25 billion or $4,800,000 per pound. The NASA reference to Mission to Mars plans to launch 12 rockets over a period of 7 years that will take all the materials needed for an expedition to the planet. The workhorse will be the Ares 5, which is 360 feet tall and carries 142 tons to Earth orbit. And the Ares 1 takes 6 astronauts and 25 tons to Earth orbit. These materials are then sent on to Mars. When the astronauts and cargo get to Mars, packages that weigh 65 tons descend to the surface. NASA says that the astronauts will need more than 1 million pounds of material. The next slides show some of how the NASA views these materials. This is the initial surface habitat. The crew positioning the habitation system. A surface rover approaching a launcher with an ascent vehicle being ready for liftoff. A pressurized rover docked with the launcher and the backup ascent vehicle. Departing Mars, taking astronauts and offspring home. Descending back to Earth. NASA says that the astronauts will need more than 1 million pounds of material on Mars. With a delivery cost of $4.8 million per pound, the total cost of the expedition goes to $5.5 trillion, much more than the public will be willing to accept. So I believe the idea of colonizing Mars is ill-advised. It simply isn't possible for humans to be separated for years from the normal discourse that takes place between family, friends, and community in a confined space under a continuous threat from body deterioration, radiation, equipment malfunction, subjected to hazardous landing and launch episodes, and then remain poised to work with peak performance on a distant planet devoid of life-supporting resources. This venture faces impossible problems, keeping astronauts alive, and is burdened by extreme costs without an objective awareness of how it will benefit the rest of the world. What objective is to be achieved by man in space that machines can't do better? And I am not alone in my thinking. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Dr. Steven Weinberg says, "Humans don't serve any useful function in space."